I'm Jordan.
I'm Celine. Today we're here to talk to you about Visual Studio Code, or also short for VS Code. It's a program that at its roots is just a text editor, but I personally like to use it for my PowerShell scripts.
I tried it 2 years ago and I didn't like it. And for me, once I try something, no, I'm done.
We were on a little bit of a divergent path. I started using it about 2 years ago as well, but I had some issues, but I overmounted them, and Jordan hasn't. And a lot of the issues
you want to fix
people
things?
have
Okay, all right.
Yeah, a lot of the issues that people have had have actually been corrected in Visual Studio Code, but some of them haven't. Some of them need a little bit of tweaking, but we're here today to talk about them.
All right, so I guess to start off, we should go over installing it.
Yeah, installing. We actually have Visual Studio Code in our package library. Let's see.
You could Google it like an animal, but just use our package. It goes
just
30 seconds, you're done. All right, I guess while we're sending that out, so VS Code, I guess, as a text editor, Kris is off camera here, but he said he uses it for other things like Java, and he really likes it. So I guess we're going to go into why it hasn't worked for PowerShell, but why it does for, I guess why it does, but I don't know what I'm doing. Is what we're aiming for?
Yeah, it'll be easy. Don't worry. Let's see.
All right. So it looks like it's installing.
Yeah, we're already installing. Almost done.
All right. So yeah, I think last time it was 27 seconds. It really is a quick install, and like, why use Google? We're better. Take that. This is on YouTube, right?
We are better. Okay, it's done.
All right. Okay, now they have that. I guess we open it up and just kind of.
It starts
search. So, and while we're opening up, the first thing I do, there are extensions.
Yeah, there are a couple of extensions that you want to install. There's a library of stuff that you can. It's optional, but there's one thing. If you're going to use PowerShell, you're going to want to know when you install it.
All right. So I went to the extension. If you want to highlight where that's at.
Yeah, that's right.
Looks like even if we install, I uninstalled it, but didn't remove the PowerShell extension. So I just did PowerShell and installed that one, but that's not correct.
Yeah, we don't need the PowerShell extension. We need the PowerShell preview that actually includes some beta features that have resolved a lot of the issues that people have encountered.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. So that's.
If you just search for PowerShell, you'll find what you need. We've already installed it, so PowerShell preview is installed, ready to go.
All right. So now we've got that open. The first issue I had, and as you can see, it's already been resolved. When I first tried it a couple years ago, they had a couple of things that could make it kind of have the same look as ISE.
Yeah, that's right.
But it never was quite the same, and I don't like change because change is bad. And so the color scheme would really, really throw me off.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but it looks like, did this something you had to change, or how would you go about changing this color scheme?
It automatically switched it over as soon as I installed the PowerShell extension, but it displayed a helpful dialog box that said, do you want this theme? Do you want a different theme? They have a library of themes. You can even make your own theme if you're adventurous, but you don't have to. If you go to the options menu down here and then click on the command panel, you have you can configure pretty much everything here, but we're just going to search for like theme. Preferences, color theme, generate color theme, settings, blah, 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 blah. Click color theme. We have some themes right here. The default is not that one.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So, okay, yeah, so I know a lot of IT people, there is a dark theme, so you don't have to worry about those bright colors hurting your precious corneas.
Yeah.
But for those that prefer the superior color palette of the ISE, that's just right there.
Yeah, and we have dark themes. We have whatever you want. Well, I don't have it, but Microsoft does have it for you, and other people that make these themes, they put them in the library, and you can use them however you want. But I want ice. I'm going to set it back to ice.
All right, so it has that. I guess, do we want to go over, the positives or the issues that I have first? Because I got a lot of issues.
The biggest issue that I've heard people say about Visual Studio Code is that IntelliSense doesn't work, works poorly, works half of the time.
Yeah, when I'm typing a command, if I hit tab to complete it in ISE, it completes. In Visual Studio Code, it takes up to 4 seconds, and then everything, it takes forever. I have to go and it increases my typos because I broke rhythm. And from what I've seen, I haven't seen a fix for that.
There is a fix.
Okay.
But it's really weird, the behavior is specifically. Pretty much every single problem you've experienced with PowerShell in Visual Studio Code has stemmed from the integrated console. Now, it's usually really weird how when people encounter errors, it's usually like completely random. But I mean, that randomness isn't actually random. It's usually when people are closing the integrated console or are using the integrated console, or the integrated console didn't start. Something to do with the integrated console either not being run or being used. If you use it as your default terminal, you will experience issues with latency because the integrated console will be trying to run your commands in conjunction with doing IntelliSense and that kind of stuff.
All right, so normally when I start to see it, it works fine for a while, but once I highlight a snippet and hit F8 to run just that, that's when I start seeing issues. So when I hit F8, is that converting it over to the integrated console, or is that...
When you hit F8, if integrated console isn't running, it'll start it. Or at least it'll try to if it encounters any errors. But if it's already running, it'll just run it
All right, so
by default. And we need to configure that to actually do something else. We need to configure it to use just PowerShell.exe. Don't use the integrated console.
So I'm not interested in having to mess with the console every time. How do we set it so integrated console just leaves me alone and it does whatever it wants in the background? I don't care.
We'll need to go to settings. We'll need to go to, let's search for, what's the term?
I don't know. You're the one that knows this.
Yeah, integrated console. Yeah, I'm trying to fix this, not Jordan.
All right, external. So so we're looking for. Apparently, we don't have all of our settings memorized.
Yeah,
There's a lot of them.
I'm sorry, I don't memorize.
Yeah,
my
so
settings.
we have the setting option here open, and there's also a JSON that you can type it.
That's
at
right.
random. Okay.
All of the settings, when you change something in here, it just saves it to a JSON file.
All right, so show. All right. It's a good thing we have a document where we can just look at what we're looking for.
Yep. Integrated console, show and startup. We need to disable that.
Right.
That's so that the integrated console is not the main console that you run commands in. We want it to be the second terminal, not the first.
All right. Well, as I'm skeptical, I don't believe you. Let's see some IntelliSense action. See if it.
First, we'll
you're
need
on
to
the
create a
integrated
file.
console. Oof, we're on the integrated console.
On PowerShell.
It's already going bad.
Code. VS Code is awesome. .ps1.
All right, so the code works because it added into the path of their environment variables when we installed it. We have seen where the path isn't updated. So just if you're doing that and you're typing in something like code and you're not getting what you're expecting, just you can go to the path and you just point it to where the VS Code installer is, right?
That's right.
I think it's a system 32. I'm guessing where the installer is.
So when you install Visual Studio Code, it actually adds an executable for code.exe, which is just what we're running right now. Okay. But if for some reason that doesn't work and you can't type code and then enter a file path or whatever, it's probably because the path on, like the path environment variable, didn't add the Visual Studio Code installation directory there. So for some reason the command code doesn't work for you. Adding the Visual Studio Code installation directory would fix that issue. Code is one of my favorite things in Visual Studio Code. I don't know about you, but for me, creating any kind of a file was kind of a pain in the butt.
Well, no, because I just have 35 files and they're named Untitled through Untitled 34. Is that not?
I've never done that before. Never, ever.
Oh, so with this, I can actually follow proper versioning and know what I'm editing?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess if that's your thing.
Creating files and editing files is as simple as just typing code something something something.txt. XT. There we go. And you have the file right there. You don't need to make any edits or anything.
Just as build it whatever the path in the console is there.
That's right.
Okay.
The other thing that we're missing is we still need to change the terminal settings a little bit to get it working properly with PowerShell. There's only one other setting and then some behavior you need to keep track of.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Right,
so we've set it to
back in the settings, and after we're done with this one, can we open up the JSON so we can see
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Let's type in, I guess So what is it that we're exactly changing with the console to make it work right, I guess?
We need to configure the terminal to use an external terminal. If you don't, let's say you're a developer and you are not even working with PowerShell, you're not keeping that in mind. If you use Visual Studio Code, you can use executables like bash or cmd.exe or PowerShell.exe.
Okay.
right? And we want to bring PowerShell.exe into the picture and use that, because there's actually two terminals that you could use. There's the integrated console, which is built into Visual Studio Code with the PowerShell preview and and extension.
Okay.
And then there is the regular PowerShell.exe that you can call, that you wouldn't even need to use the PowerShell preview extension to use that. You could just configure the terminal right here to actually use either the integrated terminal or the external terminal. We need it set to external. It was before, so we're currently in the proper working state for Visual Studio Code to work for us.
All right. So how would they go about opening up this JSON file if they wanted to see?
JSON is usually, like, most of the settings that you can change them in just the settings menu, but sometimes you'll be browsing Stack Overflow or something like that, and they will have say, just put this in your JSON file and then it should all be fixed.
Well, and I know people like Kris, if he has to click the mouse, he dies a little, and he loses like a year of his life. So if you prefer typing, they're going to want to go to the JSON file where they can type it out.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's,
if you are very much a JSON and some kind of serialized data settings person, or you like any files or whatever, this is the place to make your edits. There is a JSON file that Visual Studio Code uses to configure all of its settings, even if you change them in the menu, and it saves them all right here.
Okay. All right, so looking at a couple of things we have in there, like the ignore recommendations extensions, that's something from yesterday in our testing. It kept on saying, hey, we see you're using this file, would you like to, and that was just to make that go away.
Anytime that you open a file in Visual Studio Code and if it's a JSON or an any file or a XML or something, it'll recommend you an extension to install that will help you with the formatting and pretty much anything else related to that file. Like, for example, the indentation for one file type might be different from another file type. And I can actually show that to you right now. A really good feature of Visual Studio Code is, let's say you have somebody who likes to format their files like this with no indentation whatsoever and makes it completely illegible. I know I've worked with people like that. Have you?
I am that person.
You are that person. Yeah. Well, you know what?
So she works with people like that.
Yes.
Right click on Visual Studio Code, just anywhere in the terminal.
Anywhere on there, okay.
Click on Format Document. And it's fixed. I know that's just tab indentation, but it fixes a lot of other things. If you have somebody that uses OTBS or Almond, which are different ways to actually format your documents, then it can fix that too.
We here use the one true brace style because it is superior, and if you disagree, you're wrong. So we're going to the one true brace. You can set that as the default for the editing style when it auto formats.
Yeah, you should be able to. Let's see. Let's go to settings. Let's search for
While you're looking that up, do we have any questions?
Yeah, any questions?
Dear Jordan and Celine, can you demonstrate debugging in ISE compared to VS Code? Thanks, Kali Bobali.
You know, I actually could go a little bit into this, but I prefer the ham-fisted way of debugging. I actually rarely use the debugging features because I am very stubborn. I know it's really good in Visual Studio Code. I don't have like a script that goes too much into debugging right now.
Yeah, so my default is I write it poorly and then say, hey, Kris, and then Kris fixes it for me, and is that debugging? No?
It is not.
It's not? Oh, well then I can't show you the difference then. What I recommend is you get your own Kris, or maybe a Colby.
Colby's over there. I know he wants to shake his head. He's restraining himself.
He's probably debugging as we speak.
So there is a full debugging section in here. I apologize. I don't want to speak to something I don't know as much about, but I've used breakpoints. That's about all I've used the debugging section for, and using breakpoints is pretty easy.
Lex just said, write it right the first time, then you don't have to debug.
And that is my plan. Unfortunately, I don't write it right the 5th or 6th time. But like I said, that's why
It's like in Billy Madison where he hits that hole in one. He's like, I should just do that every time, right? Yeah, that's the idea.
All right. So I guess for the debugging, that's just something. I imagine there's a lot of similarities. Neither one of us is comfortable enough to really give you a great deep dive on that. But what we're doing, I do want to bring up the one true brace style setting again.
Let me see if I can find the settings for formatting. Format on type, format on save timeout. There's a bunch of settings for formatting in here.
All right, so I guess that's one thing to point out with VS Code is ISE is built for PowerShell. It's going to work for PowerShell, but there's a lot more customization with VS Code.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
we're giving you a baseline, but if you're very particular on something, it's probably
Like-
buried in here.
Okay, look at all of these settings that you can go through. Open brace on same line, new line, after open brace, close brace, ignore one line block, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry, I don't want to get into all of them, but there's a lot of ways that you can customize how text shows up on your screen, and it's pretty easy.
Okay. All right. So we have that. I guess do we want to... Did we show the IntelliSense working? Because I'm still skeptical.
Yeah, so, okay. Immediately,
Whoa.
control space,
That
bam,
is
it's right
already
there.
way faster
Yeah.
than I've seen. Yeah, I'm already sold, apparently. Stop the demo. Oh, wait, no.
I gotta go run to my desk.
All right. So we're looking at, is there anything, we've shown the problems, the color palette fixed, apparently in 2 years, something that's being actively worked on, has corrections. Color palette's fixed. The change is still scary, we can go over that. The big one, the IntelliSense, it turns out you can't just use the default PowerShell, you want to use the PowerShell extension.
The PowerShell preview.
The PowerShell
extension.
preview
That's right.
extension. Okay. And with all that makes it so this is almost as good as ISE. The formatting is nice. Is there anything that makes VS Code that much better?
Hang on, let's just type a bunch of stuff here.
A bunch of
Okay.
random commands. Wow. it
Have
is
you ever
something coding.
commented multiple lines and done
the
like
double forward slash in the next line? Double forward slash?
Yeah, what, you don't like doing this? I don't like doing this. And Visual Studio Code has a feature that lets you actually comment out multiple lines. It's control slash. Just click control slash and you can comment multiple lines pretty easily and just toggle them on and off. I really like that feature. For me, that's already a sell. What is it for you?
Well, I'll be honest, I have to remove large sections of everything I write, so that is a game changer right there.
Oh, yeah.
All right, do we have any other questions? No more questions? Okay. All right. I guess let's go over some of the other settings that I guess Colby is the one that brought these ones up if you want to. You can do where it formats on paste. If it goes just so
We have some settings like, let's say that you were copying a script from the internet or wherever, and it was formatted poorly.
know what it is before you run it.
Yeah, for sure. You could actually add this setting, editor.format on paste,
All right.
:true. Pretty sure I got that correct.
We'll find out.
Yeah, we will find out.
Let's open up ISE and write something out that we can copy over. See if it-
Evidently, I said Billy Madison. I meant Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well, let's be honest. They're all the same movie.
they are. I still haven't seen Uncut Gems yet.
Um,
I hear it's a really good one.
And I should see that because it has Kevin Garnett, and as a Timberwolves fan, it feels mandatory.
There you go. All the reason.
that's it.
Jordan sold on Uncut Gems, and he's sold on VS Code.
I gotta tell you, the auto formatting alone. I'm sure I've told this story on camera before, but I have a award here of most obviously self-taught PowerShell user from my submission to work here. They showed me the comments, and one from Adam was, it's the most unreadable thing I've seen, but it looks like it'd work. Kris wondered why I only had one comment and it wasn't relevant or in the right area. So I'll be honest, auto formatting's a big deal. I'm very excited about that. All right. I don't think we need to go.
Yeah, we
super
don't need to
complex.
get too deep into it. I just want you to look at
All right.
the. Sorry, I am so used to writing scripts properly, unlike Jordan.
That's pretty
that-
good for live.
Yeah,
Just
no,
watching
that's a
you
good one. But
type this thing
we're
out.
trying to highlight the format on paste, and it looks all correct to me. So
Just be glad I'm not the one typing.
You're going to need to add a comma
Oh.
to the JSON file. That's
Oh,
why it
thank
has the
you.
red squiggly.
Colby saves the day.
Look at
Comma. Save it.
that. It's still showing up as the wrong.
Unknown configuration setting. There we go. So if I take this and I paste it,
What gives
It
you where?
is
So
actually
it was still
fixing
showing
it.
as wrong. Let's go back to settings. All right, Kobe. Here's your time to shine.
Unknown configuration setting. Is it
Editor
case sensitive?
Ooh,
Oh, instead of thing, it needs to be things.
we're missing. Okay. Oh,
There we go. And-
Apparently, settings are
It's
case
case sensitive.
sensitive. That is, we knew that. All right,
There
and
we
then
go.
added the temporary. That is,
Let's do that a couple more times.
oh, that is nice. Like, apparently, if you do it fast enough, it stops.
That is
Nope.
a good point. Someone's already called out your code. Thing needs to be things, right?
Yeah.
Because you're looking for the.
Yeah.
Oh no,
That was correct.
Yeah.
It should
that first
be
one. There
thing.
you go.
There
we
things
go.
is the
All right.
the object.
Well, everyone's a critic.
Yeah.
Everyone's a critic.
Before you start copying and pasting 100 times.
Are you guys channeling me, just not being able to type today, or what?
that's where the debugging fun really comes
We've
in.
actually been doing this a long time, and neither one of us has ever typed that accurately. So, I'm not going to make any comments.
And if I'm sharing the script with other people, I should be doing where object, not where, because where is an alias.
All right. They say you shouldn't use aliases to make it readable, but that seems like a... And I guess where IntelliSense now actually works on VS Code after 2 years
Ooh,
of
that's a good-
disappointment.
That's one thing that I
Might as
wanted
well just
to
finish it out.
That's one thing I wanted to bring up is like, okay, what the heck is IntelliSense, right? Like I remember when I first started using PowerShell, people were talking about, oh, just use IntelliSense to fix the typos that you have in your scripts or what have you. But I didn't know what IntelliSense was. IntelliSense is the service that when I press Control Space and I get a prompt for variables and things like that, that is IntelliSense. That is an intelligence service in the background sensing what you need. And,
So that was just a default one. So if you start a command... all right.
get service. Like, let's say I only type that much. Okay, get service is a command that we can use. So IntelliSense searches for what commands that we can use and then provides it as a suggestion. I can click on that box and then it fills it in. No worry about typos or anything like that.
How about arguments?
Arguments?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you get arguments too. So when you put hyphen and then you get an entire list of arguments right here, in addition to the proper syntax above it, just like you would get when you're running get help.
So Ryan says tab autocomplete ruined my life. Yeah, I used to actually have to know the commands, and now I can just wing it, and PowerShell just fills it out for me. It's nice.
I feel like a spoiled child nowadays when it comes to some of the stuff in the new editors.
That's what technology is all about.
It's like I'm not even developing anymore.
So I want to use this opportunity to make Colby use a complete sentence. Is there anything with VS Code that you like that we haven't gone over? Ooh, we stumped him.
I think you're going to cover this, but I really like the source control integration.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right.
How did
Source
that go
control
over?
integration.
this goes back to my 35 untitled documents.
There is an entire tab dedicated to source control, and it's usually checking things up into GitHub. Right now, we
Okay.
don't have any source control providers registered.
All right, so that means if I save something, that someone's actually going to have to check my code to make sure it's up to snuff before it just goes in there. Because I'm a big proponent of do it live, much to JJ's anger. He throws things at me.
We did actually just encounter an error there.
We did?
And that was actually because I was trying to use the PowerShell integrated console instead of PowerShell.exe.
Okay, so I guess yeah, that's a big one. I didn't realize that 95% of my issues had to do with that integrated console, and
Pretty
it's-
much all of them.
It's 2 settings to remove that.
2 settings to make it so that it stays out of the picture. You need to keep in mind when you're actually using Visual Studio Code to avoid the integrated console, because if you use it, it will crash and then you'll have issues with IntelliSense, just like I just did.
All right, so what if, like me, because with IC I have my editor and that's it. If I want to start again, I have to open another one. Is there a way where I can just have multiple terminals to work with?
Yeah, you can actually click this plus right here, and you should be able to just create as many terminals as you want.
Okay.
14, 15,
all right.
16.
Enough terminals.
Yeah.
And that's about how many simultaneous PowerShell scripts I write. Because, I mean, when you're not accurate, you don't have to worry about how many you're doing.
I have actually gotten up to about 7 terminals that I've actually been actively using.
I've never had that.
Yeah.
I've never had that. All right, so let's see. There was one other thing that I was interested in over here. Another setting. It was editor minimap enabled. Someone put that in there, and I'm not even sure what that is.
I'm not sure either.
Is Colby? Because I think this list was provided by.
Oh, one thing that I wanted to speak to that I just remembered was like if you type a curly, an open curly, it'll type the closed curly for you as well. I am so spoiled in that I don't even have to press the closed curly anymore unless I'm like editing something and you need to remove one and then add it later on in the script or something like that. And when you press enter,
it breaks it up for you. Oh, it puts it into the one true brace style.
Yeah.
All right, so actually, for
This
me, I've lost track of how many times I spent looking through a couple lines of code trying to figure out what extra brace I have or don't have to make it work. That's so that is another. All right, stop selling me, I'm sold. Stop digging your struck oil. That's.
Oh, one last thing, like
Okay.
an extension
Nope.
that I personally like.
Excitement's
is,
good.
I like the rainbow indentation extension.
That's just extension, all right. And what
Yeah.
what does this one do for
It
you?
makes it so that your indents look like rainbows.
Oh.
That's it.
So that's just pure for aesthetics.
Yeah.
Right.
And for me, aesthetics are very important. Look at that beautiful little rainbow.
Okay. Well, I think it's hard to see on the camera. It's puts basically, I guess you can see the other colors, but yellow, green. So it does make it so you can see the indents based on that. Is actually indent rim. I will actually be adding
like
that.
that.
That is
That's
awesome.
nifty. We've got
Pretty
another like
colors.
3 or 4 minutes of the show. Any other really cool features in VS Code that you wanna you've already sold?
Yeah.
I think just about everyone in the room. Chris,
Oh,
you
Chris
doing the
in
rainbow
his
thing?
chair.
No?
he
I like
thumbed
rainbow.
up at the rainbow's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So there's that one. Is there anything else that other than the source control? I guess Colby, because I think Colby's one of the few people in the office that was actively using VS Code.
Yeah, I like it. I hadn't ran into as many of the issues as other people have, because a lot of the time I never used the integrated console. I would usually just test one line at a time externally, or save my script and then run it in another terminal like con EMU.
Okay. Yeah, because I know I was the only person for the longest time that had these issues, and I was always complaining about it. Everyone's it doesn't exist. And then Kris finally sits down with us to try some code, and he has the exact same issues, and all of a sudden it was real. Like me, no, that's just Jordan being stupid. But Kris, we better look into this. It's all right, but it looks like, because it really was, it's been probably 2 years since if you use the PowerShell preview, if something's you're not happy with, chances are it's going to get fixed, because this has been fantastic to learn.
We're planning on writing a blog post on Visual Studio Code for those of you that just want, I want it to work. I don't want to listen to a 30-minute webcast. You can just copy and paste the settings, and then it should work just fine for you.
Okay. All right, so thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you learned something. One thing to point out, Microsoft is done with ISE. There's no improvements going into that one. So if you're not happy with something, you're going to be unhappy with that forever, where VS Code, it's always going to improve for us.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
And thank you.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations to Kali Bobali, winner of some PDQ swag. Please send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week.